There's been a big shakeup in global supply chains in the last several years, with consumer product companies looking to diversify their manufacturing to various countries around the globe. And among those countries are India and Pakistan, two South Asian neighbors with a historically tense relationship. But they have this in common, and that is that they've seen a lot of interest from consumer goods importers who want to make their products there. So today we're talking about what's driving this interest and the challenges that supply chain managers face as they try to move production from one place to another, as well as how they can deal with those challenges. So why India and Pakistan? Well, let's ask Andy Church. So, Andy, thank you for joining me today. Could you tell us, with many consumer goods companies looking at different destinations to manufacture their products, what's really driving the interest in India and Pakistan, and what do you think makes these countries attractive?
Well, Billy, I think the number one interest in moving production from any supplier in any country to another supplier, whether they're in the same country or different, is generally driven by cost. There can be quality implications or other desires to move suppliers, but mostly the underlying reason is that the buyers are looking for a cheaper cost. And one of the challenges in China, which is often referred to as the world's factory, is rising labor costs, the lower number of workers entering the workforce, and just increased overall costs in the U.S. The tariffs are a big implication on the total value or the total landed cost of goods being imported. So the underlying issue is cost.
So, what types of products have you seen being manufactured in these countries? I know historically there's been a lot of apparel and that sort of thing in India and Pakistan. But what kind of products are companies manufacturing these days in these countries?
In India, well, historically, as you mentioned, it was apparel. I remember growing up and anything mattress was, produced and manufactured in India. And now beyond apparel, we're seeing a lot of bags, different quality levels, high end, not just like purse type bags, but messenger bags, backpacks, that type of thing. A lot of stainless steel. We have clients that are producing stainless steel products for pets, also for the household. So a lot of different in commercial grade. So India is really expanding in the categories, but still heavy in apparel and metal consumer goods. In Pakistan, I think Pakistan is the fourth largest or fifth largest producer of cotton in the world. So very apparel focused. We're seeing a lot of non-wovens and knits and woven apparel, some denim. And so Pakistan, the majority of what we're doing is apparel related, which those two categories or three categories, stainless steel, apparel, and bag items, are good products to move out of China to duty, often labor intensive. So the cost can be dramatically reduced by shifting production to low labor countries.
So, when you talk about moving your manufacturing from one factory to another, there are a lot of challenges that come with that, and stumbling blocks and roadblocks that can come up. Just moving from one factory to another, let alone a factory in a different country. So, what are some of the challenges that come along with this, with moving to a new factory in India or Pakistan, whether they're quality related problems or other kinds of challenges?
Anytime you move production from suppliers, there is hurdles and challenges, and that can range from communication to technology transfer. And one of the biggest things that we're seeing in Pakistan is while they're very strong in cotton, we've had uh, stitching issues, some of the things that where maybe they weren't as experienced in producing finished goods, but maybe raw components that were used. So there, as orders increase, the level of factories, is somewhat diminishing as new players come into the market. But it's very important to plan accordingly time-wise, or use it, worst case scenario, because anytime you're shifting production, there's going to be, as I mentioned, challenges, timing, communication, you begin with the sampling process and making sure that before they start ramping up production in a new supplier, they're making to the quality level that is expected. And so it's not just flipping a switch and you'll hear, well, if today is Thursday and all of a sudden Monday, the new supplier is going to start producing 100%. There's a ramp up period to that. And so you'll plan accordingly. So the biggest challenges that we see are, as I mentioned, to recap, are communication, technology transfer, lack of proper timeline planning, and being patient. I mean, it's not an easy process. It's very doable, but if the going in with the proper mindset, the proper timeline, and communicating effectively and efficiently with your supplier and being patient, I think that, of course, it requires having a vetted supplier. But if you follow those steps, I do believe that the pain can be minimized.
So you've alluded to a couple of different types of challenges when moving production to these countries, um, or any country really. But um, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how to, how to overcome these challenges, and what kind of practical steps can um, supply chain managers take to ensure that the process of shifting production from one supplier to another is as smooth as possible, and especially, you know, we're really focused on quality. How can they manage things smoothly to maintain the same level of quality?
I think one of the first and most important steps is the buyer evaluating their quality and their processes now at their existing supplier. This is the time to make improvements in internal processes as migrate to a new supplier. So, as an example, we really encourage our buyers, our customers, to have tech specs. What's a tech spec? A technical packet. It includes diagrams, measurements, materials. Some clients include, weight and HTS codes. And that may sound obvious, and for mature clients it is, but sometimes updates don't get properly documented. There's not a revision history, or one may not exist. It's been emails back and forth, and maybe the factory over time, has a folder and they put all these emails and some documents in there. And so evaluate the current processes. Are you doing what you should be doing? And that can include tech pack, which enables the factory to properly quote, ensure that they're building to your specifications. Are you issuing POs? And if not, consider it. Those POs can include some of the information of the tech spec, but refer back to it. So you don't have to have a PO that always includes every specific measurement or detail of your product, but it can refer back to the product for, gray insight shirt in 5 different sizes and what those dimensions of those sizes are. So evaluate what you're doing now to make sure that it can effectively communicate your needs, specifications, and requirements to the new factory. If your potential new factory supplier partner does not understand all your quality requirements, including that you're going to conduct inspections, annual factory audits, then they're going to fall short. They're not going to be able to meet your expectations if they don't know what your expectations are.
You mentioned audits there. Um, I'd like to get your thoughts about factory audits, and what's the importance of auditing a factory, and how does that process work?
So due diligence is ensuring that the supplier, your service providers are able to meet your needs. Are they legitimate? And in the case of a factory partner, are they licensed for export? Are they capable of producing your product? That might seem like a very basic and given, but if you're buying ceramic mugs from a factory and they don't have any kilns or painting facilities, that should raise red flags. They may be subcontracting everything out and maybe just packing. And if you're aware of that, that may not be such a bad thing or fail them if they're transparent. But ensuring that your new supplier, potential new supplier partners, are capable of producing their products that you're transitioning or wanting to place orders with them. Do they have the capacity for your current needs and to grow with you? Do they have the proper licensing, registration documents in place? Do they have quality processes? What is their sampling process? So conducting audits can ensure that your facility, from a quality, capability, and capacity need, meets those basic requirements. In addition, many of our clients require their factories to pass social accountability audits, which is to ensure that they're paying employees properly on time. They're not withholding, identification documents, pay. There's no indentured work. So it's important from a social accountability standpoint for many companies to validate and confirm that their factories are providing safe and healthy work environments for their employee partners. So factory audits should definitely be a vital part of any transitioning of a client's production from one supplier to another, even if it's within the same region or country.
I would just like to ask this final question, and that is, what is your biggest piece of advice for supply chain managers who are considering or planning to move their production to India or Pakistan? What one piece of advice would you give them?
The piece of advice I'd give to supply chain managers looking to move production from one supplier to another would be patient, document your processes, develop a timeline, and do due diligence. So that's more than one piece of advice, but I think if I had to say one thing, one piece of advice, one word only, it would be patient.
Yes, patience is a virtue, as they say. So, with that said, if you are looking at new suppliers in India or Pakistan or somewhere else, we have a free guide that you can download to factory audits. It's called How to Prepare for a Factory Audit. And in this guide, we provide some tips on how to conduct an audit, and also about the types of things that you should include in your audit checklist when you're evaluating a new supplier. So if you haven't already, definitely download that guide. And also, if you need help auditing your potential factory or existing factory, feel free to reach out to us, because we have auditors in India and Pakistan who can go to the factory on your behalf and conduct that assessment. So if that's you, feel free to reach out to us, request a quote, and start the discussion with our team. So with that said, thank you for joining me today, Andy, to help me explain about the situation with India and Pakistan. And to everyone else, have a great day.